Well, it's been more than a month since the last direct evacuation flights from Kabul to countries like Australia left Afghanistan after the Taliban seized power. Tens of thousands of Afghans managed to escape, but many thousands more are still trying and hoping to flee. One man who has helped a number of people get out of Afghanistan is former British soldier Ben Slater. 25 of those that he helped escape are now living in Australia. Ben Slater is the chair of the NGO Nomads Concepts Group. He was arrested and imprisoned in Afghanistan last month when he was trying to get a large group of mainly Afghan women over the border into Pakistan. Ben Slater joins us now from London. Ben Slater, welcome to Breakfast.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Ben. You've spent a lot of time in Afghanistan, and more than a month ago you were trying to lead a group, I think, of about 400, mostly Afghan women, over the border into Pakistan to safety. But it went wrong. Can you tell us what happened?
Yes, I can. Obviously the Taliban happened, unfortunately, and as you know, the city went into disarray, and there was a huge upheaval, lots of panic and fear. So the flights are shut down in the airport. So we basically decided to, once we got obviously a number of people out already, we decided to make a move down to the Pakistan border, where we were hoping to obviously cross, and that included the 25 that you mentioned earlier. And basically, we were just waiting for the UK government to obviously authorise the visas the other end. And obviously, we were working with DFAT and obviously the Australian government with a women's team in Australia. Fortunately, the 25 got through, and the rest and myself were sort of just left waiting.
And as you were waiting, the Taliban arrived and you were arrested.
Yeah.
What happened? Why did they arrest you? And what happened to you then? You were in prison for 5 weeks.
So basically, obviously, what happened was obviously we were in a location just down from the border, because we've been there for 36 hours already. And obviously, I suppose the Taliban started to sort of get a bit interested in what we were doing, and they come to where we were. And they obviously noticed there's an international guy, obviously myself, and obviously predominantly Afghan women and sort of families that were obviously looking across the border. And basically it just escalated from there, and they sort of took me away and a few of my staff, unfortunately, for initial questioning.
And I think it went beyond questioning. As I've read, you were accused of being a British spy, some kind of a James Bond character. But it got pretty heavy, didn't it?
I mean, look, we don't need to beat around the bush. After the 3 days at the border in the jail there, where I was put in a jail there as well, I was then moved to Jalalabad, which is basically, obviously the capital city of Nangarhar province, and basically that was their main sort of interrogation kind of, political kind of jail, so to speak. And when I first arrived there, obviously I tried to get some dialogue across. And straight away, I was accused of being a spy, told to shut up, and I was thrown down the stairs, thrown in jail, beaten up a few times, and hoods over the head. And, that carried on for just over 2.5 weeks.
How did you get out in the end?
Right, so basically, over the period of time, obviously, I realised after the 2.5 week point that I wasn't obviously James Bond, which is quite fortunate, because that's the worst thing you want to be told when you're in that situation, because you lose all your rights and all your dignity straight away, and they can do what they want. Once they established I wasn't, and I was obviously just ex-military and obviously a businessman in the city for a number of years, running NGOs, etc. I got into a bit more of a relatively more comfortable situation, where when I mean comfortable, I had a room with a carpet, and I was permanently guarded. But then basically the British government come out for a visit into Kabul, and I managed to basically, one of the conversations was obviously my release. I managed to get on a flight with them out the city back to Doha.
Okay. Ben, you've helped 112 people get out of Afghanistan, as we've mentioned. 25 of those are now in Australia. Who were the group you were trying to get out?
So the group I was basically trying to get out, they were mainly my employees and their families, because unfortunately the The employees were doing a lot of women's empowerment, women's in business, women's in economy, basically everything that wasn't really too pleasant towards the new regime and they didn't really like. That's why I took the decision to move. So they're the ones that unfortunately we're trying to get out after we'd helped pretty much everyone else. We tried to help ourselves, and unfortunately we got caught a bit short of the border. But I am actively lobbying now with the British government, and we are actually working with the Australian government and DFAT, which have been very, very good to obviously get a few more, hopefully, to Australia as well.
And how are you going to do that? The border crossing with Pakistan went awry. Are there going to be direct flights? Are you counting on that? Are you going to do, cross-country travel? And what's the attitude of the Taliban? Because in August, they said anyone who wanted to leave the country could do so.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, what's being said and what's being done are two different things. I think that's quite obvious. But obviously now, the key is getting the permissions with the Taliban. So as long as you can sort of prove and justify, and actually, fortunately, not now, obviously, because they know me, I don't think it'd be a problem this time around for a land move per se. It'd just be on the Pakistani and the UK and Australian government side, which obviously have to be aligned. And the airport, apparently, allegedly, whether it's still the case, if there are, Afghans with actual visas, they are going to be letting them through the airport. And I think that's being negotiated.
Okay, you're a former British soldier. There are still hundreds and hundreds of former security guards and translators and other contractors who worked alongside Australian troops. And there's, as you say, thousands who worked alongside the other Western nations trying to get out. They're hearing reports of some that they're being hunted down, some that they're being tortured if they're found. Yet you seem to still maintain some kind of optimism that these people will be allowed to leave will they be allowed to survive until then? Is that the question?
Well, let me be clear. I'm talking about my particular group. We're doing a lot of work and a lot of liaison to make this happen. And but in general, the situation is absolutely dire. People that are linked to these previous jobs, roles, and government, they are under deep threat, and it's imminent. And what is now being translated across the news of a new attitude, I do sincerely believe, and I have been told over the course of the week since I've been in Doha in the UK, the situation has not changed at all. They are moving houses to houses. They are not. They're hiding, and is terrifying for them. And they need some assistance. They really, really do.
And is the assistance coming from other nations at a quick enough pace? I mean, I noticed that Spain has just begun a new evacuation operation to get more Afghans out via Pakistan. I read Israel has had some success, particularly with women judges and other high-profile women in particular. Do you have a message for countries like Australia, which, stopped that formal evacuation mission a month ago? Are we doing enough? Are countries doing enough and going hard enough?
Well, I think look, the international community needs to realise that a lot of these Afghans are very educated and they will contribute to society, and that's what I've been putting across with my group. I mean, I've got a very educated group, and any country they go into, they will contribute to society. They're not going to be a drain on the social system. They just need that sort of leg up to be in a place where they can breathe, where they can start a life and contribute. They're not coming to sponge. They're in a place right now where they're in imminent danger. And I mean, anyone in the world would want to change that situation.
Most of that group, and how many of that group of your workforce are still left behind, and most of them women?
Most of them are women. I've got basically 150 that I need to get out pretty quickly. I've had to make a tough decision again to trim the numbers. I was initially sitting at 1,200. I went down to 400. That's the figure that you've seen. Now I need to get out 150 because we've been reassessing what's going on. But these are people that have had their houses searched. They are getting looked at like a piece of meat by certain regime, as in the younger women, unfortunately. So we have got the concerns of forced marriage, dangers, imprisonment.
Have you heard reports of that happening?
I get it on a daily basis from multiple people every day since I've been out of the jail. Basically, it's horrible.
Like what kind of things are happening to young girls?
Okay, well, look, they've got the people. They've got the Taliban coming over every day to their properties, asking questions, interrogating them. They're looking at some of them like a piece of meat, basically. I think we can use our imagination what that means. Sure. Also, as well, we've got people being threatened, people being obviously in some cases beaten. And of course, I mean, the whole economy's shut down. No one's got any money. No one's got any food. No one's got anywhere to go. It's actually beyond disaster over there. And this is what the international community needs to realise, is that it is a humanity level event. It's not just a disaster or a conflict or a problem anymore. It is a humanity level event. And the international community, I don't think they should actually recognise the Taliban, but they should work out a way to get the help needed to the actual Afghan people, because, what is going on is I haven't got the words for it. I haven't. It's awful.
Ben Slater, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Former British soldier Ben Slater. He's just spent 5 weeks in a Taliban-run prison trying to help Afghans leave the country. He's still got 120 of his former workforce he's trying to get out. So far, 112 he's helped leave Afghanistan, and 25 of those are in Australia, and we welcome them. Ben is the chair of the NGO Nomads Concepts Group.